Hey everyone, I'm Ellen here at Etrailer.com. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Spectro Mega Crimp Jr terminal and lug crimping tool. So this is going to be a hand crimper. It's going to allow you to crimp down those larger lugs on a battery cable or something that has a little bit more size to it than just a little insulated butt connector. So typically it's going to be used on those bigger wires like connecting to your battery and things like that. This is going to be a good choice for any kind of automotive use. A lot of people kind of have a debate between should you solder wire or should you crimp wire. But generally people regard crimping as superior to soldering in this instance because whenever you have a connection out on the road, it's going to be undergoing a lot of vibration as it's traveling. So crimping typically does better over soldering if you do it right. This is going to help us to do that. We'll have several different sizes to choose from for different applications of lugs to go on the end of the wire, so I'll help you figure out if this is going to be the right size for you. It does have 7 different choices as far as the size of actual opening that this fits, but that can be used for a couple more than just 7 applications. So pretty easy to use. You just crimp it down. Select the size, crimp it down, turn it about 45 degrees, crimp it again, and you should be good to go. The thing that I like about it is that it has fairly long handles, so you can get good leverage on it, but not so much that it makes it really unwieldy or hard to store in a toolbox or a drawer somewhere out of the way. So let's take a little closer look at the opening here. To adjust the size, it's easiest to do this with the jaws open, so spread the arms out there. I'll try to get this around so you can see it right side up. So to adjust the size, right now I have it set at 9 or 10, or excuse me, 6 or 10. So these numbers do not correspond to wire size. It's the millimeter circumference, or the circumference in millimeters for this space. So don't be fooled. It does not work for 6-gauge wire. It works for about 10-gauge wire up to 1/0. So just keep that in mind. To adjust it, we have these 2 posts on the back side. Push those in and it will allow you to rotate that around. So if I want to adjust it to the 16 millimeter size, just push in either side, match them up, you should be good to go. You'll always want to go off of that top number. That's going to be the one that corresponds to the size. It is also printed in the center here of that space, so if you're not quite sure which one's which, that does help you kind of figure it out. It's kind of hard for you guys to see it, but you might be able to see that there from the side. So we can make our adjustments there. Now, as far as figuring out if this is going to be the right one for your particular application, it does, or it should, come with a little chart that should make it kind of easier to figure out which one's going to go for you. So you'll just match up the wire gauge you're using and then the type of terminal or the type of end you're crimping on there. So if you're using a battery terminal with a 6-gauge wire, you'll want to use the 35 millimeter. This is a misprint. It should be 50. There is no 60 option for these, so just keep that in mind. So if these are going to be the more common connectors, the flare end standard lugs. There's going to be the little lugs that kind of have like a flute on the end, or just a circular opening with flared edge all the way around coming to a ring terminal. So if you have a 10-gauge wire, you'll use that 6 number, or that 6 measurement, that smallest opening, and then going down the list. So a 8-gauge will be the 10 opening, 6 will be 16, and so on. So hopefully that makes it a little bit easier. Hard to explain without a visual aid, so that's why I figured I might as well show you guys that chart. So again, if you have an 8-gauge wire with that standard end, you'd be putting it at the 10 measurement. So we'd slide this back over to the 10 and 6, which happen to be on the same rotation, but you'd use that bottom opening there. And then crimp it down. Make sure it crimps all the way. Turn it 45 degrees and crimp it again. And that should get you a solid connection on the end of that wire. You always want to make sure that the wires are melding together so you have that good connection and that it's not going to come off even if you give that little lug a pull. I think this is kind of the best of both worlds, again, as far as size, just because I've seen some that are about this long, which does give you more leverage, especially if you're using the really big wires and you need a little bit more power to get those crimped all the way down. But this one makes it a little bit more compact. So maybe if you're somebody who goes out on the road in your Jeep, or you're an RVer and you need to have something with you all the time and you have space or limited space, this might be a good option for you. So just something to keep in mind. It's about 15 inches long at the end, and then I think about 5.5 inches at the span there for the handle, and just about 2 inches thick at that connector. All in all, should be a good tool to have to make sure that you can switch out those battery cables while you're on the road. But that's pretty much going to do it for our look at the Spectro Mega Crimp Jr terminal lug and crimping, or terminal and lug crimping tool. Thanks for watching.